Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda Dittlinger. This is my dog Watson, and I am a neurodivergent woman. I have autism, ADHD, aphantasia, and a rare memory disorder called SDAM. One thing that I am finding out is that usually when you find somebody who has a neurodivergency, oftentimes they have more than one. And it's not like I want to be label gathering, but labels do help us understand how our brains are working. And it helps us be able to communicate, especially in the neurodivergent community. If you can be like, oh yeah, I've got this neurodivergency, and you're talking to somebody who else has it, it's like there's just a kind of a level of understanding that can quickly be established, even though all of these brain things are a spectrum. So if you've met one person with autism, you have met one person with autism, because all of the traits and things that people have, that's why it's called spectrum disorder, because what is a difficulty for one person with autism may not be as difficult for another person, and vice versa. And same thing with these other neurodivergencies too. Like my aphantasia, for instance, that is the inability to voluntarily bring forth imagery in my mind's eye. Well, I am on the scale of total Authant. So another word that I actually just learned today, tangent, ADHD tangent, aphantasia and SDAM are still being researched and studied by scientists, and they are not in the DSM-5 right now because they're still they're so newly discovered that they're still doing studies on them. So when they first found out about aphantasia, they thought it was just people who couldn't visualize in their minds. Then more and more research was being done, and they found out that there's people like me who can't experience any of the senses in their mind. So I have been saying that I have total aphantasia or 5 sense aphantasia, but another word that popped up today in discussions was multi-sensory aphantasia. And that word works really well because also, scientists are talking about the fact that we have more than the 5 senses that you learn about in kindergarten. And another sense that is kind of being discussed a little bit more in the brain research world is, hold on, I gotta look at how to pronounce it, proprioception. So what proprioception is your, basically the sense of your body, like where your body is in space. And that is something that I knew I struggled with, but I never until just recently attached it to having aphantasia. I have been practicing yoga for a little over 3.5 years now, and with a yoga practice that robust, I have become aware of the fact that I am not aware of where my body is in space. So when I'm doing a yoga pose, I have to kind of look out at my arms or feet or legs, and having a mirror would be very handy. I don't have one in this space, but I have been in yoga places where I have a mirror, and it is so helpful because there are certain poses where just twisting your foot just so slightly can make a difference in how the pose feels. But I can't in my mind know where my foot is unless I look at it and move it in space. I mean, when I look at it in a mirror or look at it in real life and then adjust it. One thing with my posture, I can never tell if I am sitting up straight or not. I will feel like I'm sitting up straight, and then it's I have to kind of look down at myself to see if I'm leaning forward or back. Right now I'm looking in a camera, so it's kind of helping me. But so with yoga, I became aware of the fact that I had a difficulty knowing where different body parts were in space. And so when I heard today about multisensory aphantasia, it just really clicked that, oh my gosh, that's another sense that I'm missing in my mind. So I also can't taste things in my mind's eye. See, that's like, the researchers originally called it mind's eye, so I don't even know, in your mind space. And, you know, I love chocolate. I know that I love chocolate, but if I'm not actually tasting chocolate, I can't recall that taste in my mind. And same thing with smells. I'm like the perfect person. If I smell a gas leak, you better check it, because there is a gas leak, because I can't imagine that smell in my mind. You know, textures, I'm always touching things, because I can't look at like this velvet pillow and know what it's going to feel like in my mind. Even though I've touched velvet many, many times, until I touch it, I don't have that sensation in my mind. And that goes with any kind of texture. So, you know, all the senses. So, multisensory aphantasia. I'm not exactly sure where I was going with that. I know that the YouTube algorithm really likes you to have a title and a point to your videos. But honestly, guys, tonight I just felt like turning on the camera and just talking and to see where the conversation would lead. You know, sometimes that's how art happens, and videoing is my art. I just want to connect with you people. I love talking brain stuff. I want to, you know, kind of learn about myself through conversations with you. I hope that my words can help you make sense of something that might be going on in your head, and vice versa, because through communication, I'm learning more about myself and others, and it's so awesome. One of the things that people often will ask me is, how do I learn? Oh my gosh, this is a hard one, because when I hear how my brain doesn't work, I'm like, well, how does it work? And I honestly, Pug is exiting the shot, except for one foot. So when I break it down and talk about having aphantasia, where I have no visuals in my mind, and I have a memory disorder that makes it where I do not have first-person memories, and you deal with ADHD, where you're having problems with executive functioning and short-term memory, it's like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I just got to pat myself on the back and be like, hey girl, you made it to 42 and you're pretty smart. I've got a bachelor's degree and I've homeschooled my children up to 8th grade. So, you know, obviously I can learn things and retain information, but sometimes trying to even understand myself, my best methods, is something that I struggle with. I do know with my ADHD brain, if I'm not interested in a subject, it is so hard for me to read it. It's like I can read the passage and read it and read it and read it, and it will not go into my brain. So having an interest in a subject, I can devour information. Now, one thing that is interesting with autism, and ADHD, a lot of times autistic and ADHD people have specific special interests, and I've gone through several in my lifetime. And when I get into a new topic, because I'm interested in it, devour the information, and I can retain it by reading it. And the problem is, because of my memory disorder, SDAM, that stuff doesn't stay in my head. So, like for instance, many, many years ago, I got into a special interest of mosaic. I don't know why, but I was mosaicing every surface of every piece of furniture that I could get my hands on. And I came up with this really cool methodology with glass, and it was like really cool. I would not now, gosh, how long ago is that? Probably 10 plus years ago, probably longer than that even, actually. Again, I'm also time blind. I would have to basically start from scratch. I have no memory of how I did that mosaic and how to do that kind of thing anymore. There is a muscle memory component to my learning. So I learned how to sew when I was in high school. And then I went 4 years of college without touching a sewing machine. But in high school, I sewed a lot. And I even made my own prom dress. But again, I went a 4-year gap without touching a sewing machine. Then when I was out of college, I pulled out my sewing machine because I wanted to, I think, make curtains for my new apartment. And I looked down at my sewing machine and I was like, oh my God, I've forgotten how to sew. Like, I had no memories of how to make this machine work. And I was about to cry, but I put my hands on the sewing machine and I just touched it. And it was the same sewing machine that I had in high school. It was my same one. And all of a sudden the muscle memory worked. And I just knew, oh my gosh, turn this, do this. And it was like my hands were doing the sewing. And I was just along for the ride. It was so cool. And you're asking me, how do I remember this? I don't. I have no first-person memories. What I do have is a list of facts, sometimes, about things that have happened, especially when it's something cool and it's a story that I've told multiple times. So I've told this sewing story several times since it happened because it was such a weird experience. So I don't remember it actually happening. I just know that it did as a list of facts. I think of it like a police report, taking down, this is what happened, this is what happened. That's kind of how my memory works if I actually have a memory of some event. And a lot of times events from my life are just completely deleted, put out. No memory of them. And the reason why I know this is because my sister has very, very good memory. And she'll often ask me, do you remember blah, blah, blah? And I'll be like, why, no, I don't. So, and it's so great for a person with autism and SDAM to have a close sister, because one of the things about me with autism is the lack of being able to keep friends long term. So over the years, I've had some amazing friends, but I have never been able to maintain a friendship for a very length of time. Right now, currently, as I've gotten older, I have, I think, started to learn how to pick friends that are more accepting of, at the time, what I thought was my quirks, which now I know is my neurodivergencies. And so I have had some really nice friends that I've had for a couple of years now. But they're still not like, I would say they're close friends. They're not like bestie friends, you know? And social interactions are, you know, it's one of the markers of autism. And it's not that autistic people can't have friends and don't want to have friends. I'm very extroverted. I have spent many, 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 many moments crying over lost friendships that I did not understand how I lost the friend. Just by ghosting or, you know, miscommunications or drifting apart because we just weren't compatible. Anyway, I hope you followed this tangent river. Like I said, I just wanted to pop on here and kind of talk. I feel like shared experiences are just a great way to relate to people. And so I hope that something that I said tonight resonates with you. And if you are somebody who is not neurodivergent, I hope that my videos kind of can land, and so that you can learn a little bit how a neurodivergent brain works. Because it really is a lot different, I think, than a neurotypical brain, but not different bad, just different. Like Windows versus Apple. Both awesome operating systems, just different. Anyway, if anybody is wondering, this is one of my favorite stems. I love this fidget toy. I will link it down below. Anytime you click on any of my Amazon links, it helps the channel, just throws a few pennies my way. And I like this fidget toy. A friend of low vision blind viewers, I'm playing with some silicone noodles that come in multicolors. And the thing is, they're very, very quiet. So they're good to have as a fidget in a place that you need a quiet fidget. But they're stretchy, they have just a really good squishiness. And so I have these in a lot of my videos because when my hands are busy, my thoughts can flow more freely, even in their ADHD tangents. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you hit subscribe, and guess what, guys? I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.